So for me, I'm going to do a double of 2 different types. Right? I'm going to go and do the, I'm going to make a fennel, no, I'm going to do an apple fennel one, okay, with a little bit of herbs, okay, and I'm going to make it slightly sweet. And the other side, I'm going to make it with a basil one, basil and mushroom, yeah, with a little bit of red wine. Okay, so can I get a pizza pan, please? Pizza pan? Mm-hmm. Now, what is the liquid that you're supposed to add is chicken stock. So, yeah, perfect. Do that. And notice I'm preparing my pizza pan with some hot. So what I do is I actually get it off my pan or my cutting board so it's free. And the other thing that you guys are going to start learning to do is cooking as close or cutting as close to this area as possible. So all you need to do is take a step, okay? And that makes a huge difference in terms of how much you're wasting your time walking around in your station. Okay. Oh, can someone go out the door? Okay, I'm going to take this. The next, I want to make sure that I'm going to slice my apple. Now, this is a very simple, this is my way of slicing the apple. Oh, careful, whoops. Okay, I'm going to go and just stack it up. This time I'm adding the rind in. Just want to make sure that it actually has that. And I'm just going to go and cut through. And then I'm going to shove it in my knife. Okay. Now risotto is actually pretty finicky, meaning that it actually, once you cook it to the right point, you have to serve it right away. Okay. You can't let it just sit there because it will continue to keep cooking and overcook. So you got to go and make sure you take the time to go in. Man, my knife is sucky. So I want nice apples. Okay. Notice that I stacked it up, and then after now, when I cut it, it's like a square. Okay. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to take some rosemary, and I'm going to do that first. Risotto is really easy. The steps, like I said, but it's just getting the consistency. So you got to make sure you have the right consistency. So that is my rosemary. Half is my basil. Why does it feel so quiet today?
So many people here. No, passive. No special.
Did you say no what?
Here.
No special boy. He was here. Where did he go? He is a very special boy. Special boy. Okay, can I get some butter in there? I have some butter, but we're going to get it started first. So I'm going to do 2 at once. And, yeah, that's fine. Okay, and I'm going to turn this nice and low. And underneath at the back, there's going to be like, yeah, second drawer up next to the cheese. There's a small thing that's called chicken stock, if you forgot it. So I'm going to prepare this. I'm going to first start off with having some diluted chicken stock. Whenever I make the risotto and made it as a vegetarian dish, obviously you can just use plain water. It's fine. Okay? Yeah, thank you. I'm going to do the chicken stock and have it for both. It's also because it's the last bit and I just want to use it up. Yeah. So typically it's just 2-to-1 ratio. I'm just going to heat it up.
Ratio of chicken stock to water?
No, 2-to-1 ratio between the liquid and the rice. Okay, so 1 part rice and then 2 parts of the. Okay, so I got this going and I got it nice and low. Hopefully, okay, turn it down low. Okay, and it's gonna heat up. A way so that your butter doesn't burn is I add a little bit of oil, and then after I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. Okay, so I'm gonna do that first. Add it in, and that helps to bring up the smoke point, so meaning that the burning point, so that it doesn't actually burn. Okay. Then what I'm gonna do is that the second step. This is like typical. The second step is that you're gonna take the time to go and add your onions, and you're gonna just sweat it. So you don't want color. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of onions. So you need 1/4 of an onion or so. Just think about ratio. You don't want lots of onions for this amount of rice. So think about how much onions you actually really want.
How much onions is 1/4?
Yeah, I decided 1/4 because, so why I'm not telling you amounts anymore is because I want you guys to like figure it out yourself. I don't want you to be so stuck on a recipe, but I'd rather you take an observation and say, well, think about this. If I have this much rice, how much onions do you really want in there? Lots? Not very much, right?
1/4 of an onion or 1/4 cup?
Think about this. This is 1/4 cup of rice. How much onions do you want to eat with it? A lot of onions or not even a lot? Do you understand what the question is? So I'm not giving you an amount anymore. I'm giving you proportions, and the second thing I want to give you is just observations. Take a look at it. Like with,
Why is there 2 questions? The 2.
because I'm showing you that there's going to be, pretend that I'm being 2 people.
So basically, we're only using.
You're using 1 pot. Yeah, because you're making one, and then your partner's making the other together. So I'm making one, my partner's making one, and at the same time we're going to plate it. Okay, so you need to be in sync. Yeah, use the same chicken stock with water. Any other questions? Those are good questions. Okay, I'm going to add some garlic, but I'm thinking garlic and apple, don't really want to do that. But garlic with mushrooms, oh yes. So I'm going to, and notice that what I'm doing is multitasking. Just because I am cooking, I'm still looking while I'm cutting my garlic, but I'm just giving it a stir once in a while just to make sure that it is still doing pretty well. The reason why you can have 2 pots, that's fine, but that's an extra pot you have to wash. Why do that? You know what I mean?
Is that 1 clove of
You're not doing exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
You shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I shouldn't be seeing you using mushrooms, nor should I be seeing you doing anything else with it. I'm showing you a version of it. So you guys have to create your own version. Does that make sense? Okay,
Now,
so
what if we want to do something different with mushrooms?
that's what I want you to do. You are not doing exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
You're not supposed to. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be adding the mushrooms in here because I think that it's going to taste really good. I want the flavor to come out. Yeah. My hair. Okay, there you go. Okay. So if it is a hard herb, I'm going to put it in the beginning. So I'm going to want the flavor to come out. So I'm going to add the rosemary in here. So now you're going to think about when's the best time to go and add your ingredients. Okay? If I add the mushrooms at the end, I'm not going to have a lot of flavor, right? If I add the rosemary at the end, less flavor than in the beginning. If I add the basil now, though, it's going to ruin my basil. You understand what I'm doing?
wait, have you added the rice already?
No. I'm just preparing the flavor profile to get it so it's nice and flavorful. Okay. So I'm doing this 2 at once. Let's see how well I do. I'm going to add the apples to this. Just going to saute it in the butter. Okay, I'm gonna make this a sweet, savory one. So, yeah, because apples can always think of it as dessert, but it actually can be savory. Okay, so while that happens, once I have this all ready to go and all my flavors in there, it smells really good, I'm gonna add my rice, and I'm gonna do something called toasting the rice. Okay, so meaning it's gonna coat. Coat the rice. Okay.
Coat the rice or toast?
Toast the rice, and then you're gonna coat it in the oil. Yeah. Okay. Once I toasted the rice and coated it in the oil, I'm gonna go and add my wine. Okay. Now think about it. You have only a quarter cup, so think about the amount of wine you want in there. You need a lot, but just enough to flavor. So I'm gonna use red wine for this one, and I'm gonna let it absorb. I'm going to use red wine for this one. Just because my student made a mistake, and then after it feels like, oh, what am I going to do with the red wine? I don't want to pour it back in. So now this part you guys got to take a look at. So you might need to come a bit closer for this. And if someone could get me a ladle, that's even better. Once you toasted the rice, a ladle, you're going to go and add a little bit of stock a little bit at a time and just keep stirring. Okay? And I want you guys to look at the water level right here. So you can't see it here. You got to come over here to go and take a look at it. Come over and take a look at the water level that we're having. Okay? One thing that you need to do is that you want the water level to be just a little bit on the bottom, like a small thin layer on the bottom. Does everyone see? Small thin layer at the bottom, okay? And you're gonna constantly stir. How creamy your risotto will be, it depends how much you stir. Okay, more stirring is good. And I used to say it's one direction because it actually does make it creamier, but you don't have to always end up like being so anal about it. So I'm stirring until it becomes, and it's starting to get creamy, it's releasing the starches. As I go, I want to also, because if you take too long, your rice is not going to cook. So you want it to always be bubbling and always have a thin layer at the bottom. Does that make sense? Okay, so same with this one. Okay, you want it to be bubbling and always have a thin layer on the bottom of this one. Okay, and as you do, you're just going to keep stirring. Ooh. Alright? And this is what you're going to do for majority of the time. Okay? But a lot of times people are like, oh, how long am I going to stir? When is it done? And guess what? It's a split second between when it is ready and when it isn't. So keep an eye on it. Right now, I know it's raw. And I can tell it's raw because the rice is white. Okay? So do you see how it's simmering right here? That's a good bubble. Okay? So then you want to add a little bit more. And let it stir. Okay? Don't add so much water because it ends up being like a soup, and then after this you don't have the creaminess to it. So the more you stir, the creamier it will get. Okay? Okay? And it sounds like it's crazy, but it's just, risotto is this type of thing where it just takes a lot of really good time and a lot of care and taking the time of, really respecting your ingredients and just being able to do so. Okay? So once it looks like there's not a lot left, can someone open the door? Of the liquid, then you're going to add a little bit more. Okay? So it should be bubbling. This one looks like it's not bubbling as much, so I have to turn it up a little. Okay? But do you see, like, I'm just actually taking the time to just do this step? Okay? so I'm gonna keep stirring and I'm gonna keep getting this going. And then you're just gonna keep having, it's kind of growing and, yeah. How many of you guys had risotto before? Yeah? I think you have. Yeah, that's true. A lot of you guys, I think you might have had risotto. Meaning, I know that you have risotto rice, but you eat it as, if it's wet. It should be wet. What I mean by that, it shouldn't be like stiff. So you're gonna go and do that. Okay. And once you have enough, you're gonna add a little bit more. So watch your partners because you want to be at the same page as them. If your partner is going a little bit faster than yours, then you want to slow it down for yours. Does that make sense? Because you're going to be plating it at the same time, half and half. Okay? That's when you can just make one of this. So, yeah. So one version. And you're just going to keep stirring, huh?
So you like me and my partner make different one?
Yeah, you have to make two different ones, and you plate it together, and both flavors go well together.
It's practical, right? So like we don't know, we don't know about those.
Oh no, this isn't practical, this is lab. Later on, you'll do this as a practical.
Oh, okay.
Wait, are we doing this with our partners or?
Well, none of you guys decided on new partners, so until everyone decided fully and made the decision for it.
I don't know.
I give you mine. So this part takes like half an hour, whatever it is.
Really?
Seriously. So if I were you, I would get this everything started really quick and get the risotto going. But this part takes a long time.
Hello.
You just keep adding chicken stock until the rice is ready, and you have the right consistency. Yeah, this is the last step before you get some, well, except for you add your Parmesan cheese and your double butter. Huh? This is the crucial part, yeah. Knowing when to stop and knowing when your rice is cooked is a crucial part because this is what makes the risotto. This part. It seems like it's like I'm taking forever with it, but it really is this step that actually makes or breaks your risotto. Makes or breaks, but you know. But as it goes, it's the more care and more time that you take care of making it, it's just going to turn out really well. Okay? So my suggestion for you is take the time to do this part. Okay? But notice that it's still a thin layer. It's absorbing the liquid and it's cooking the rice. Okay? So when you're cooking it, you want to do it in that way. But at the same time, you don't want it to like take forever. Okay? So make sure you chop everything up pretty quickly and get everything in the pot as fast as you can. Not like just dumping it in, but you know. So if you start taking a look at the rice this time, it's still white. That means it's raw. Okay? And there's this magic time where it's all of a sudden starts to go and absorb all the liquid and becomes this really creamy mixture. Like this one is starting to become creamy. Okay? This one is still doing its thing and it's nice and brown and being separate. Right. So where did you guys have your risotto before?
I had it over
Had it? Did you have lobster risotto?
No, it was
Mushroom?
What?
Where is it?
by like bundles.
I heard a lot.
Wait, what place, Jacob?
Phoenix.
Beet.
I had it.
I know.
Really good.
I know. Oh. No. No. Oh. Is she having another monster? No, no.
Okay, so while that happens, can someone actually shred some of the cheese for me? So it's ready to go. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of brown sugar just to this. A little bit of sweetness. If desired. Parmesan cheese, and then the zest was over there. Okay. It's done. So give it a taste. You can only tell that the risotto's done if you actually give it a taste. So. Nope. Tastes good. So this is quarter cup each, right? You saw how much water I had. Did you see how much water I had? It's quite a lot. So at this point, I'm still adding almost all my water. If you run out of chicken stock, just add some water instead. Keeps taking the flavor out. Yeah, and but is Margaret, I mean, Noah and Margaret. Yeah. How much would you need? I like you. Half the amount more. Okay, so I don't know what you guys will be doing during this time, but I have a feeling you're going to be washing dishes during this time. So yeah, so maybe one person will start washing dishes and the other person will start to do that. And I told you, like, risotto is one of those things where it takes a lot of time, a lot of care, but it actually tastes really good afterwards. Okay? So, yeah. So if I were you, if you have your partner, you will do what I do, which is doing the double stir. And then the other person will just actually just start to go and finish cleaning out. Okay? But while this happens, how many of your partners actually here?
Oh, my partner's here.
Yes? Mr. Tickley?
Mr.
Mrs. If you guys are gonna go and take the time to talk to your partner, and I want you guys to figure out the flavors, okay? All right? But think of two things that will go well together. They're very completely separate. Yeah, this was good actually. Oh yes, chicken stock.
Like something like acid.
And water.
Can I go to the bathroom?
You can. Okay. Okay, this was basically done.
So, Chef, what color will the rice look like?
Wait, this one's done. Yay. Take a look at this. So come over here. Take a look at this one. It is creamy, but it looks a little bit like porgy, okay? And it looks like it's not done yet, but it is because once I add the cheese, fresh Parmesan Reggiano, and then the butter. So we'll grab the butter. I'm sorry. You're gonna add the butter. add it? Add it in. Let it kind of, do you see how creamy it is now? It's getting super creamy. Okay? And same with this one. It's starting to get there. Okay?
Need more butter.
No, I'm going to try to finish this off so I can wash this. Okay, this one's starting to get pretty good. Gonna try it. It's good. I'm gonna add my cheese. You guys good with more cheese?
Yes, just add as
Yeah.
much cheese.
Okay, Parmesan.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and add my Nava butter. If you want, there's truffle oil. If you ever had that before, it's super tasty to go with this.
Did you say tropical oil?
Truffle.
What are the drops?
Okay. See how creamy it is now? Okay. That's exactly how I want the rice. Okay. Oh no, last minute, gonna add my basil.
How do you plate this?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna add my Nava butter. Make it nice and creamy. And let it cool down a little bit.
You add cheese with it.
Yeah, I added cheese to both.
Add basil?
Give it my last minute. Yeah, I added basil. But remember, you're not doing
Oh, yeah.
what I'm doing. Okay, so now it looks super creamy, super smooth. Okay, it is still porgy. And when you eat the rice, it's actually chewy. So now it should be chewy. The rice should be chewy. Now I'm gonna place. So take a look at how wet the rice is. It's pretty wet. Okay. Both sides. These are the fennel ferns that you guys have, and instead I'm just going to put it right on top as a garnish. Just so that it just fennel ferns. It's just like the little, looks like dill, but. Okay. So then you have your jewel of risotto. It's creamy. It's supposed to be quite wet. Do you see that it's like almost like porridge? Okay, but when you eat it, it's gonna be like chewy when you eat it. So we'll try it. All right. And anyone who has the card, please give me that. Yeah. Okay.